I'm excited for class today, like always. Um,
Mm.
so
I gotta go back and rewatch last week. I
was it
got I got on the back end of it, and
well, we're gonna go over a little bit of what we talked about last week and then go into more of it. So that hopefully that'll help too. So today is class 2 on the nervous system and what is it exactly and how do you regulate it? So I wanted to go into this, and today it's going from chaos to chill, how to regulate without having to quit life and moving to a yurt. So I want everyone to understand that's watching this that you have so much power in understanding how your nervous system works because it is the transceiver or the transmitter and the receiver. So everything in your life is a reflection of where you are with your nervous system, which is affected by your thoughts and by your feelings, and then that affects how you act. So it all puts it all together. It brings the inside and outside, it puts them together. Um, so once you understand how to regulate your nervous system, which is basically understanding how to balance the energies just inside of yourself, then you can feel safe. You can feel a flow. That doesn't take your problems away. There's always going to be a contrast. There's always going to be a challenge, which is always developing and evolving you into something even better and greater where you can attract greater things in your life too. But you don't have to look at it as a way of, like dread or suffer, because you'll have the skills now to understand how to process what's going on. So you don't have to hold on to it like trauma, but you can deal with it in the present moment and then be able to get to the next moment without bringing that moment with you, and shutting down or overworking. So, what does regulation actually mean? Regulation is not control. It's not suppression. It's not ignoring your feelings. It's not bypassing them. I've seen some people say there's no shame, and I'm like, there's shame. It's an actual emotion. But to say that there is no shame is just trying to bypass that. That's you're actually saying it's not even real now. Like that doesn't mean it's not real anymore. It's just your way of bypassing and avoiding that emotion that may feel uncomfortable for you. And maybe there was a teacher along the way that told them certain emotions are made up, where really the emotions aren't made up. We all feel these emotions. So we can actually verify we all feel these emotions. But in the state of the emotion that you're in, there may be a state of illusion that you're in or a state of truth, which shame does sit in the illusion state. And also, it's regulating actually also means it's the ability to stay connected to your body and respond from a grounded, present place instead of reacting from like survival or fear. And that's what we do a lot of times. Like the things that we like regret doing comes from fear, survival, anger. It's not really who we are, it's who we've learned to be to survive. Um, and you get to still, even like when you regulate your nervous system, you get to still feel all the feelings. It doesn't mean all of a sudden, now that you regulated your nervous system, that you don't get angry anymore. It's just people don't see you get angry anymore. It doesn't mean that you still don't feel certain feelings. It just means not everybody has to see that you feel these feelings. You can feel them and you can process them because they're for you. They're not for everyone else. And so, but you're going to be doing it from a space of choice and presence instead of chaos and like not even having choice over it. Like it's taking you over. Like, do you want to master this or do you want it to be your master? So, understanding how to regulate the nervous system just pretty much helps you become the master of your life. So, the nervous system has three primary states. Actually, uh, there's four now. There's a newer one that's called the fawn state. So I'll go over that too in a minute. But the primary ones that have been most looked at, it was the sympathetic. And actually, I'm going to, where is this? I'm going to add this in here so I don't overlook it. Oops, come on. Can you see my screen? Is it sharing?
no.
Okay, that's fine. I don't need to share it at the moment, but um, okay. I'll just put it right here. Okay. All right. So we've got the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So that's the four, but fawn is like the newest one that's come around. So fight and flight is comes from the sympathetic nervous system, which is more the masculine energy. It's the one that gets you going. It's the one that gets you the adrenaline when you're ready to fight or run away. It's the one that gets you to action. So it's all about action and getting things done, or running away from it, but it's still getting things done. And it's survival. Like when it's in overactive, it's survival, but we all need to survive, of course, to a certain level. So it has its place, but when it's out of balance, it's not working very well. It's controlling, it's overacting, and it's not good. And then there's parasympathetic. Well, anything out of balance isn't good. It's like chaos, a tornado. It's not anything you want to be in. So parasympathetic is you've got, so the parasympathetic actually has two sections to it, which I'm not trying to go too scientific, but I do at least want you to understand what it is. So you've got the parasympathetic, which is the more the feminine side of your nervous system, which is the rest, digest, connect, nurturing. And when it's healthy, and with the masculine, you've got something called the central vagal, which is like uh that's the spot that can't even think of the word right now. That's that's working right there. And then dorsal vagal, and there's exercises that where you can like turn your head, cough, and you can reset these things. But I'm gonna not gonna go into every single one of them today. We're gonna actually go through some more next week too, and go through a workbook to teach different ways to do it. And then you find out what works for you because we're all different. And we all have different imbalances too. And so so the dorsal vagal, the problem with that is that it's a nerve, by the way. Your nervous system deals with your nerves, your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves. So you've got the brain and spinal cord, and then the nerves that come out into the organs. That's what I'm talking about here, is this. It connects your brain to the outside world through nerves. And so the dorsal vagal nerve, it's a freeze shutdown. So when I say shutdown, that's that fawn state. It's an overwhelmed feminine energy going on. So if you notice that all of a sudden you're like doomsday scrolling, checking out different things, like not really working, but more like in this like don't want to do anything kind of state, like more depression, you're actually in an overwhelmed feminine energetic state. It's chaotic, or it's collapse from prolonged stress. It's burnout. So just a little bit about the fawn response. Um, so it is lesser known, but it's getting more known. So instead of fighting or running away or freezing, which you literally just sit there for, like if there's something happening, you just freeze, and you don't do anything at all. No fighting, no flighting, no flighting. You try to survive in fawn state by people pleasing or appeasing or erasing yourself to make other people happy. And you could even do that to your very own abuser. You're trying to make your own abuser happy so that you're less harmed in a way. You're trying to protect yourself under the fawn. And it shows up under like the sympathetic or the dorsal states that I was just talking about, the freeze, shut down, the dorsal vagal nerve, which you don't have to remember all this. I just want you to know about it so you have some background on it, so you kind of know what you're talking about, or if you hear it again, it'll like kind of click. Um, so, and we're going to be going over it for like the next 2 to 3 weeks. The fawning shows up under that, and it's not a separate branch of the nerves, but it's a learned strategy. So the other ones are actually separate branches of the nerves. This is actually learned strategy, the fawn state. Um, and it's layered on top of dysregulation. So the nervous system already has done this freeze or the overdoing, all of that has been going off, and then the fawn shows up. So if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Ryan? Because
Yeah,
it's another layer to an already dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah, because yeah, I've been there. It makes a whole lot of sense because um about the burnout and stress, what you're talking about. Because I was there on a certain situation and I didn't understand it. I knew I was past, looking back, I knew I was past freeze, but I couldn't explain it.
Hmm. Yeah. So like you're just saying yes when you want to say no, you over explain, you over apologize, you avoid conflict at all cost. You suppress your needs or feelings at the idea of keeping the peace. This is really a people pleaser.
Even when you know it's not going to.
Yeah, yeah, you just hope. You're like in a state of hope that if you're a good person, everything would just be okay. And really, you're just trying to appease the people around you so it doesn't go crazy. But you know it's still going to go crazy, but you're just trying to keep the peace as much as you can. So, but it's already came about because you were already in either the fight or flight or the freeze state anyways. And then this got later on top. So the sympathetic, the fight and flight, I want to go into a little more detail on it too, is the overactive masculine. Like there's a healthy part to this. Oh, you know what? Did I start recording?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a healthy part to this. And that's like, if somebody's attacking you, you need to defend yourself. Or like say a bear comes after you, you need to be able to defend yourself or run, from actual danger. But where it becomes a problem is when there's not actual danger around you and you're using the state for just normal day stressors. And stressors don't have to stress you out. And that's the thing that most people don't seem to they were never told. It's not seeming to understand. We were just never told that you can have stressors, but you can choose not to be stressed out. You can approach them like a problem and you're going to solve it. You don't have to stress yourself out and get all freaked out about it. And it's just, but this is part of the regulation. Like when you've seen a parent or you've seen somebody around you doing that, taking that role all the time, like every time there's a problem, they just start freaking out. Their knee-jerk reactions to everything. Well, they're in this overactive masculine, and you're going to pick up those traits from that parent, just subconsciously. And so that's the only way you know how to react. Well, learning how to regulate yourself gives you that space. So about the regulation of the nervous system is it gives you that space to make a choice, make a different choice, so that you don't just react so quickly. You breathe. Okay. Now, what am I gonna do? Okay. And these states are a lot of like just unawareness, and ignorance that comes from it. It's not, and I'm not saying ignorance in like a bad way. We're all ignorant in some way, we're naive in some way. We're all unaware in some way, and it's okay. But once you become aware of it or somebody points it out, it helps. Now that you're aware of it, you can do something about it. Before that, you were just ignorant, you didn't know. And ignorance isn't always bliss.
Okay, hold on. I got a question.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you go from fight or flight, then to freeze, and then to fawn?
No. So they're different energies. So the freeze and fawn are more the overactive feminine going on. So that's going to be a different energy. Then you got the fight and flight, which is an overactive, well, is the masculine energy. It doesn't have to be overactive. But so one of them, like the fight and flight, which is masculine, that's going to be overdoing or running away. And then the feminine, the over balance and the imbalance of the feminine, where you're too much in the feminine energy, you're going to freeze or you're going to fawn. So now it's like, okay, what do you do in those states? Because those are two different energies, and you have to understand what energy are you showing so you know how to fix it. Like here's the symptoms. The root is going to be one of these energies. Now, how do you fix that root problem? And so that's what we're going to go into. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, because I'm trying to process some layers by what you're saying. So, okay.
Yeah. This is a lot. So we're gonna have at least another 2 or 3 classes. If we need more, we'll do that too.
Okay.
So the fight and flight, that overactive part of it, because it's good for actual danger and survival reasons, but when you're using it for everyday stressors, it's not. So it makes you lead to burnout. It's where you perceive a threat where there really isn't any. And so your heart rate increases, your digestion slows, blood flows to muscles, your body preps for run or fight. Actually, when you're constantly in this area, you can't even digest your food right, but it'll be thinking you need to hold on to that food for some reason because you're like must be in some famine. So you tend to store food as fat when you're in this. Most people don't know that part. But this is
Like, hold on a second. Say it again. When you're
yeah.
in what
When
stage?
when you're in the overactive, activated, mobilized for survival, like feel like there's always a threat, the problem is the digestion slows, so it doesn't digest your food properly. And because it thinks that you're in some kind of chaos, it's going to store the food that you're eating as fat.
No kidding. Okay.
So, like, no matter how much you try, it's going to be hard
Yeah.
to lose weight.
Yeah.
And that's part of regulating the nervous system is a lot of the stuff that seems really, really, really hard to do is because this is dysregulated. So this is where the flow really goes, is your nervous system. You know, I've been leading up into this, you know, talking about all this stuff, but it's like now here's the thing. Here's the main control panel here. Like this is like,
Uh, Okay, I got a question now since you said that.
yeah.
Okay, there was one point in my life that I was cold. I'm talking about like freezing, like I had a fever. Felt like it was that cold. And I talked to my psychiatrist one day and I said, what is the problem with me? I'm freezing to death. I've got layers and layers of clothes, 3 or 4 blankets, and I'm freezing. I mean, it was so bad, people would come over and just make fun of me, which I don't blame them.
Mhm.
He said it was stress, and I literally made one decision, and then soon as 15 minutes after the decision was done, I was back to normal. What is that with the nervous system then?
So, okay. So if you had there's different imbalances of different energies too, according to Ayurveda, and that's Vata and Kapha that are more the cold ones. So Vata will have you in your head a lot with multiple ideas. And if it's out of balance, you're going to be cold. And you're also going to be like, your head's going to be just constant with ideas and thoughts. And then Kapha, when it's out of balance, means you're going to be holding on to weight. You're also going to be cold. And you tend to be more stagnant though. So you'll feel that you don't want to do anything.
Exactly.
And that's out of balance. So you probably had a kapha imbalance then.
Yeah.
And and you could look up Ayurveda. We can talk about that another time too. I mean, this whole thing is about happiness, health, and abundance. So and Ayurveda actually goes along with a lot of this too in the masculine and feminine energies and things, because Ayurveda really dives into the energy behind everything. And so yeah, so this actually like uh this right here can tend to make you hot because that heating from the masculine, and then the overactive feminine will make you cool. Um, Even though I didn't put that in this training. There's just so
Okay.
much to teach.
Yeah.
So and I already feel like I pack a lot in, and then I'm like, there's so much more. So whenever you have that overactive masculine energy in your nervous system, where that sympathetic nervous system is like overdoing it, perceives everything as a threat, like every stressor is an actual danger, you're going to feel anxiety and panic. So anybody who has panic attacks or serious anxiety or even any anxiety, that's because they're putting fear to something that doesn't really belong or isn't even there. Like danger. Racing thoughts or overanalyzing. This is also Vata imbalance there. Can't relax, Vata imbalance. All these are actually Vata imbalances right here, except and Pitta from Ayurveda. But racing thoughts and overanalyzing, can't relax, constantly on. You know, those people that wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, they actually have this issue right here. It's a spike in the cortisol that you get at 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you're already stressed, you're going to wake up automatically around 3. And some people are like, why is that? Well, that's also a Vata imbalance. That's showing that you're in this kind of imbalance. Need to do something, but unsure what. Hypervigilance, perfectionism, tension, over productivity as a coping strategy. You have all this that you'll be doing. It's like an overactive doing and thinking. It's that pendulum swing that I showed on the map of consciousness between like anger, desire, and pride. It's like you just doing, but you lose, you can't keep, you just keep doing. It's overproduction, hyperactivity. So real life examples of this is going to be you're in traffic and someone cuts you off. You snap or you clinch. You know, you cuss them out or whatever, flip them off. That's your nervous system being dysregulated. That's not a normal response. I know some people are like, well, that's normal. No, it's just so many people are dysregulated. You've now associated that with normal. You read a passive aggressive text and you spiral. You know, quit talking about it. Like, I can't believe this person talked to me this way, you know, whatever. Or you'll be thinking about it, reminiscing about it. You jump from task to task without finishing any because your system is scattered and speeding. You know, you'll be like, I gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. It looks like you got ADHD or you may have ADHD. Well, there you go. You can't sit still to meditate because your body says, nope, not safe to be still. You haven't done enough. Overactive masculine is always doing, always pushing, solving, moving. And then your inner masculine isn't rooted in presence. It's always like in what the future, or sometimes even in the past. I think that's more the feminine, but the future, hard to be present, always future goal planning. It's always the next thing. Tomorrow will be better. Next year will be better. I'll accomplish my goals next year. That kind of mentality, that's what this is. It will get you in a serious loop of overdoing. So, and your nervous system is yelling. And then your parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, connect. This is more the feminine. It's now, if you're talking about the central vagal, this is when both are balanced. You're dancing, you're creating, you're calm, cool, collected. You can make the decisions without freaking out. And this is like socially engaged, regulated, present. And this is your healing zone. This is actually where your body starts healing, your mind, your programming, all of this. You have to balance these energies out for healing.
You froze.